I'm Aaron Onesie, so what? Welcome to the musical show where, we talk about music. And yeah, it is five, isn't it? 5 albums, I think, released last week that we're going to talk about. But first of all, there's a few other albums from previous weeks that I want to quickly mention here. Kimbra, A Reckoning, you may remember I reviewed and gave a 9.8. I am downgrading that rating because while it's still amazing production-wise, and I still think it's a 10 out of 10 in those regards pretty much, lyrically, it can leave a lot to be desired, and the features were largely kind of mid. 9.1 out of 10 though, it's still a fantastic album, and my third favourite of 2023 as it stands, although they might have been beaten by one of the albums released this week, but still got a few more to get through. You may remember me talking about Summer Stuck in My Way, saying I'm not going to review it for whatever reason, just because I want to see how bad it was. I reviewed it. Well, I listened to it, and yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. Every beat sounded the same. A lot of them were even worse renditions of the previous. In the middle, there were a few decent songs, but aside from that, it was absolutely terrible and boring. The beats were horrible. Some atrocious songs, and it's my second least favourite as it stands for 2023, giving it a 2.3 out of 10. Will that be beaten by one of the songs here? Will the 2.2 out of 10 I gave to Trippie Redd? And if I gave it no, I did give it a 2.2, I think, on the show, but it's a 2.2 as it stands. If I haven't, will any album beat those two and be the worst in 2023 in this list? Let's see. I can tell you the bottom of the list is. Hang on. Oh, it is this. Oh, I forgot one. RuPaul's Black Butter. I think beat-wise, it was actually quite decent. And it was only really the lyrics that let it down a hell of a lot because the lyrics were so bad. And some of the songs make really good music in the background while you're doing stuff. I learned that while I was listening to the album and just got bored and went on my phone. Because sometimes I do that while still just having the music in the background, just thinking about how this one's alright, this one's decent, so on and so forth. And it's a 4.8 out of 10. It's basically average, but it's not average, but it's average, but it's not average, but it's average. Yeah. But I can tell you the bottom of my list was Shy Glizzy's Flowers. And it's basically just a young boy album with a different rapper. Has some decent enough songs and never gets super offensive in this album anyway. But the beats get super repetitive, especially towards the end. But as I said, there's amazing songs to take out, and the 21 Savage feature was absolutely fantastic. One of his best features in a while. And given I was expecting it to be awful, it exceeded my expectations. So no, it's nowhere near as bad as Summers or Trippie Redd, and it's actually a 5.2 out of 10. There were no bad albums this week, which is quite good for 5. Cool. Castle. DJ Drama's back on Dexter, a Gangsta Grills mixtape. Pretty much the whole of the second half was fun, and the features were all solid, which on a DJ Drama project, where there's a lot of them, is really unusual, most of the time anyway. But the first half was insanely mid, and there wasn't really anything particularly special throughout here. There was just a fun second half with a couple of enjoyable tracks, but as I said, there was nothing particularly special. It isn't bad by any means, and as I said, it was a fun album, and there were some fun songs to take out of it, but it was mostly just insanely mid, and I give it a 5.8 out of 10. Next up, Let It Burn by Rebecca Black. And actually, I need to increase this rating on the thingy, on my notes, just in case I read out the wrong thing. I've got my phone for a sort of script. Otherwise, I'll be not knowing what to say next for half the video if I didn't have it. Sometimes I wonder if like the old era is letting her old era and letting that Rebecca Black be in and praying that I will be in because of how much it sucked. It wasn't entirely her fault. Friday was written for her. They were basically trying to make a Kids Bop song. And talk about a glow up. After over a decade, she's finally had the chance to drop an album, and it bangs. It's not the best thing I've ever heard by any means, and there are glaring issues in production, which has been an issue I agree with, and one of the main issues on Friday. But if you told me Rebecca Black album would go hard and try to break the boundaries of pop just a few years ago, I would have laughed in your face because I hadn't seen some of the newer shit that was coming out a few years ago that is actually meant to be decent. I've still not listened to it. I probably won't listen to it because I don't see the point. Nor do I really care. But look at this. An interesting and unique album for definite, and I think a lot of it kind of works. As I said, it's not the best thing I've ever heard, and most of it was just like good tracks and nothing like great or amazing. There's a few amazing tracks, but like it's mostly just good. How was she on Friday? And yeah, as I said, Friday's basically a Kids Bop song, in her defence. And they did succeed in making a Kids Bop song because it's really bad. But, and something that only kids would unironically listen to. I don't even think kids would unironically listen to Kids Bop, to be honest. They probably cringe just as much as we do when they see their adverts. But, yeah. I give it a 7.3 out of 10. It's good, but it's not great. But it's a good start for Rebecca Black, who's not had the easiest career. Now I've got Paramore, and this is why. I love how much more mature this sounds compared to a lot of their previous pop-punk works. I mean, I still enjoy a lot of their pop-punk works, and I might enjoy some of them more than this. Because I'm teenage. I'm the target demographic. I'm a little emo. But to see a new, more matured sound, especially as the group are aging, and it will be a bit weird for... Right, let me see how old Hayley Williams is. Hayley Williams. 34. It would be weird to see like a bunch of like people in their mid-30s still writing pop-punk songs. MGK is 32. I think that proves my point. But yeah, to see a new matured sound is fantastic, and I think it's needed given the band are aging, as I just said. And the sound works. Lyrically, it was largely fantastic in so many ways, and the title track is one I'd love to mention on its own, as it still keeps to the more post-punk sound, but it does have that angsty feeling of their previous pop-punk work. And I love the way that those two sort of worlds combined perfectly. And there was also a few others where it did the exact same thing. Some songs were super predictable, but the album bangs in its entirety. And they even get the more ballady tracks right, which doesn't happen very often. This is a great album that met my high expectations, and I'm giving it a 9.1. It was brilliant. This makes it my joint third favourite album of 2023, as it stands. But you may know, and you will definitely know if you follow my music review on TikTok. Had quite a controversial review on The Melodic Blue. Recently, that has garnered a mixed reception from the music community. There is the TikTok. Go follow. And yeah, you'll definitely know if you see my TikTok review what I give this. But yeah, and you may notice if you watched last week's show, I've still not mentioned one of the albums that came out last week. Lance Skywalker's Audiodidactic is my album of the week. Poor Paramore, man. There was only if one song was taken off, this would have been the second 10 out of 10 album in like the space of 2 or 3 weeks. And yeah, it's a real shame in that regard. But this is still a fantastic album with a great and interesting sound that I don't think I've really ever heard before. Kendrick discovered a gem, and honestly, this artist only got like 150 something thousand monthly listeners. That should defo change, because this album was amazing. The features were mostly brilliant as well. And yeah, I wonder where his sound will continue to go in hip hop. I think he's one destined to remain underground, but he's fantastic basically, and I do definitely recommend him. Although, will he be for any of you that watch this channel? Give it a go, you never know. I don't know your music taste, do I? All I know is that I'm giving it a 9.6 out of 10, and that makes it my joint second favourite album of 2023 with Ray's My 21st Century Blues. Although, I think I'd still have My 21st Century Blues over this, because I'm sort of debating whether that's a 9.7 at the moment. Why did I sound so posh then? I'm really posh. I'm not a Tory, I'm just posh. Soz. Tories don't say soz. They don't say sorry, they don't take accountability, but this isn't political. This is musical. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm listening to 7 albums this week. Yay. But hopefully, with any luck, I'll be able to get through them just fine by Wednesday, which and I filmed the show on Friday, don't I? I could film it on Thursday technically, but surprise albums might release. Like, soz. Yeah. First of all, we've got Catherine Polachek with her new album, Desire I Want to Tear Into, which she released on Tuesday for some reason. I thought to release like last Friday and I couldn't really get away with reviewing it, so I was going to skip it, but it came out on Tuesday. I think I can get away with reviewing it as one of this week's albums, as it did technically come out this week, didn't it? So yeah, I'll be reviewing that. I'll listen to that today, actually. Skrillex are dropping their new album, Quest for Fire. It will feature Bobby Raps, Missy Elliott, Mr. Alizo, Joker, Sleeping At, Fred Again, Flowden, Stara Forte, Aluna Kaito, Ellie Kessler, Naya Bagruti, Sway Lee, Slick Brain, Posage Flowdown, Beam Peekaboo, Pete Wentz, Stara, Noisier, Josh Pan, Dylan Brady, and Porter Robertson and Bobby Borelli. I've only heard of a few of these, or BB Borelli. To be honest, Porter Robertson, Sway Lee, Fred Again, Missy Elliott. But it's meant to be amazing, apparently. From the one person I know's listened to this. I just hope he's right. I forgot to give my expectations. I was expecting the Catherine Polachek. I've only heard nice things about that as well. I've only heard like 8 or 9, so I'd say 7, just to be safe, because I'm not the biggest pop fan. And Skrillex, I think I'll also say 7 for them, again, just to be safe. The late Big Scar, rest in peace, he has released his first posthumous album, and usually I don't review posthumous albums, but I feel like I can review this one, because it was probably pretty much nearly finished by when he did unfortunately pass away, God rest his soul. It'll feature Gucci Mane, Key Glock, Pooh Shiesty, Enchanting, Seddy Hendrix, basically people from his label. He was obviously signed to Gucci Mane. He was on that 3-hour album that he released at the end of the year. I don't usually enjoy stuff from Gucci Mane's label, but I do hope I at least semi-enjoy this. I don't want to like come out and give a rapper who's died recently his first posthumous album like a 3. I'm going to say a 6, which for this sort of trap is like, which I usually don't like at all. This sort of area of trap, Gucci Mane sort of area of trap. A 6 is like a 10, so I'm basically giving him a 10, so I am respecting him. Pink dropped her new album, Trustful, featuring the Lumineers, First Aid Kit, and Chris Stapleton. 13 songs, 43 minutes. Veteran, legendary pop star. Sometimes you can tell how good or bad an album can be from how good or bad the album cover is, and this is a really bad album cover, so I'm expecting it to be really mid. But I hope it's not. I'm going to say a 6 to be optimistic. But yeah, I hope I'm wrong. I do hope I'm wrong. Pink is obviously a legend in pop. We've got Jay Critch releasing his new album, Jug Season, featuring Baby Money, Max B, and most notably Rich the Kid. Is Rich the Kid going to start some revival or something? He's been around the block recently. He was on a Trippie Redd's new album. The song he was on was actually one of the best songs on the album. Weirdly, the best song of the album had a DaBaby feature. That's how you know. An album was bad. Yeah, 19 songs, 52 minutes long. I'm not expecting anything from this. I'm expecting a 2, to be honest. I hope I'm wrong, because no one likes to listen to a 2 out of 10 album, but I don't think it will be. Neat Bucks are dropping his new album, Blessed to the Max, featuring the likes of 2 Chainz, Ivory Scott, Wiz Khalifa, Chris Han, Tink, Benny the Butcher, Raekwon, Vori, and CeeLo Green. He's, from what I've seen from his features and stuff, I've never listened to any of his albums or anything. He's a trap artist. So to see these features, which are really good features by the way, will sort of weird me out a bit. I know Wiz can do well on a trap beat, but is he gonna change his sound on this album? From the album cover, maybe he will. Because sometimes you can tell what an album, most of the time you can tell what an album will sound like from the album cover. And if that is the case, this could be really good. I'm gonna say a 7 just to be safe, but that album could be really good. That album could be one of those surprise albums by obscure artists that end up really good. Neat Bucks, remember the name. You probably don't want to remember this name. BK the Ruler dropping his new album, which barely is even an album. It's 20 minutes long, featuring Rico Nasty and Destroy Lonely. I'm going to say a 4 for this one, to be optimistic. But yeah, I'm really not expecting much from that. So yeah. Highest expectations for Polachek, Skrillex, and Neat Bucks. Although, Neat Bucks is definitely one you should look out for, because that could be really good. I might put on my community tab if it's... Actually, no, I won't. That sort of spoils the surprise of what I give albums. I guess. I suppose my TikTok does that anyway. That I plug every single episode. I've plugged today. I'm not going to plug again. I already look enough like a sellout. But yeah. There's potential for some really good albums, but there's also potential for some really bad albums, and there's also potential for them all to be mid. We'll just have to see. This is gonna be a surprise one. However it turns out, it could turn out in so many ways. How good, how bad the albums tend to be. Last week was one of the best weeks for music all year. Maybe not the best. I think I'd still give that to the week where there was 8 albums, including the Lil Yachty album that I gave a 10 out of 10. And I still give a 10 out of 10. Although it is one of my lightest 10 out of 10s. It's still a 10. Yeah, let's just hope it'll be good. But not going to be surprised if they all turn out to be pretty mid. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next week. Let's hope these albums are good. Let's hope the albums that come out next week are also going to be good. I know Yeet is dropping his album next week. If any of you are Yeet fans, someone's got to be, haven't they? I need my drums. I need my drums. I mean, he's not bad. He's just not very good either. He's not an album artist, he's a singles artist. He can make a damn good song, but he can't make a damn good album, I don't think. I could be wrong, we'll just have to see with Afterlife coming out next week. But yeah, see you next week. Okay, one last thing. If you've never heard of half of the hip-hop artists that I mention every week, I probably haven't either. It's fine. It's a shared experience. But it's the only way you'll find hidden gems if you give them a go. I look at artists, and if they've got any featured artists that I've heard of, I will most of the time listen to the album. But oh my god, that was sudden. But you know, while they are usually mid, like most hip hop is these days, you'll never find hidden gems if you don't look at the hidden albums. There's going to be a lot of duds, but there's going to be a lot of really good albums over the years. Like, I've already found quite a few. I've already found that Lance Skywalker album, for example, from last week. He obscure as hell when it comes to artists on TDE, but also fantastic. His album was amazing, as I just said. It was so nearly a 10. But yeah, I'd give them a go just in case they're really good. You never know if an album's really good until you listen to the damn thing, do you? You might find a few hidden gems. I might find the next big thing, although I do think Big Pig will grow quite big, who I mentioned a few weeks ago with her last album. But yeah, she has everything. She's a pop artist. She has an interesting sound that does sort of remind me of a mix of like...
Sorry, I'm not sure.
I wasn't talking to you, Alexa. A mix of, say, Billie Eilish and a few other artists that... And yeah, I do think she could grow big. But, she could grow Big Pig. But, yeah, as I said, you might find the next big thing. And you might find some absolute gems of albums. And I've already done that this year, so yeah, that's why I try them. I might as well just put that out there. I look so much like a nonce right now. I'm not a nonce, I promise. See you next week. Hold up. Just wait a minute. I forgot an album that dropped this week, Inhaler. And I've also forgotten the name of the album, so I'm just going to look on Spotify real quick. So yeah, Inhaler has also dropped their new album, Cuts and Bruises. And yeah, they're one of the most promising indie bands around in the UK at the moment. Their first album got a hell of a lot of acclaim, and the cult following, it won't always be like this. So yeah, as I always say, it could be great, but I'm going for predicted it to be a 7 just to be safe. So yeah, thanks for watching, for real this time. See you next week.